Alrighty, at this point, if you are in this video with me, the second video, you should have the following in front of you. So you should have Schoology open and have the 7th grade final exam practice test in front of you. If you don't, then you need to pause this video and make sure on your screens right now that you have Schoology open with the final exam practice test in front of you. Also, lined paper. I'm going to show work. I printed a copy of the practice test, so I'm going to show work on here. And so when I show work on here, you're going to do the same thing on your lined paper for each problem. And then you can use these notes on your final exam next week. So that's why I'm encouraging you so much to have the lined paper out, because I'm going to let you use the notes, because you know with the practice test, it has very similar problems then on your test. And then you should also have a calculator. Now, not everything should use a calculator, but for the most part, you'll need it. So again, make sure you pause the video if you don't have Schoology open, a calculator in front of you, and lined paper. All right, so we're going to start. As I go through these problems, remember we're only doing half of them today. As I go through the problems, you're going to write the work down that I also write. And then as we do each one, you should go into Schoology and select that answer so you have it on your practice test. Now, this is going to be set up as resumable, which means that you will be able to resume the practice test on Friday with me and complete it. So keep that in mind. Now, if you accidentally on Friday don't hit resume test and you click on something different and lose all of your answers, then your backup is making sure that on the lined paper you have the work written down. I can't stress that enough. If you lose the work or if you don't write anything down, then you're on your own at that point. I'm trying to help you, and I want you to be prepared, but you have to also do your part as well. Okay, so we're going to start with chapter 1. Just trying to get a little bit more zoomed in here for you guys. And chapter 1 was on ratios, rates, and proportions. And so in each chapter, I have it divided out. You'll see the title, and then the standards that we're going through in the chapter, and then the problem itself. So question number 1 says, you pay $4.50 for 9 bagels. What is the unit price or the unit rate? Okay, so unit rate, we're finding per one. And so we're going to take that $4.50 and we're going to divide it by 9 bagels. We want to know how much it costs for 1 bagel. Now, at any point in time, right, as we go through this and I write work down, teachers can pause the video. You can pause the video if you need to catch up with writing work down. So here we go, right? Here's your calculator we're going to use. So $4.50, 4.50 divided by 9, just like that. And we're going to find that per bagel, it's 50 cents per one. And so you have found the unit rate, the unit price. And so for number 1, you're going to choose letter A, 50 cents per bagel. Okay, number 2. So what is the constant rate of change, the unit rate of the table below? So constant rate of change means the same thing as unit rate. We talked about that in chapter 1. It's just a different vocabulary for it, but they both mean the same thing. Now it's in table form. So what you see is in 3 hours, 105 miles, in 6 hours, 210, in 9 hours, 315 miles, 12 hours, 420 miles, and 15 hours, 525 miles. So if you're going to find that constant rate of change or unit rate, you should be able to divide each of these out and see the exact same unit rate. So for example, we're going to take this first one, and we're going to take 105 miles and divide it by 3. Now underneath, I'm going to do the next one as well, just to prove that we should see the same unit rate and the same constant rate. So 210 miles divided by 6 hours. Okay, so let's divide these out. So 105, divided by 3. So here, finding that constant rate of change, that pattern going through the table, you should see 35 miles per hour. Now here, 210 divided by 6. And again, this is just the next spot on the table. Also, you're seeing 35 miles per hour. And if you were to keep going throughout the table and divide the rest of these out, you would see the exact same constant rate pattern, unit rate, that we saw at the very beginning, the first one we divided. So 35 miles per hour is what you're choosing. So for number 1 and 2 in Schoology, you should be selecting those answers, right? And you should have work written down. We're going to keep going. So number 3 is also with chapter 1 here. And this says, the graph shows the amount of money Suzette earns each hour she works. Which statement about the graph is not true? Not true. So you see your graph here starting at 0. You have a straight line going all the way up, increasing. And in chapter 1, we talked about proportional relationships and what that meant. So here in our choices, all right, just not being able to get it very clear for you guys. So your choices are this. A proportional relationship is shown in the graph. The unit rate is $15 per hour. This is an example of a non-proportional relationship. And the line is straight. Now remember, we're trying to find the statement that is not true. Well, unit rate is $15 per hour. So let's look at 1 hour. And right there, I see it. Yep, it's $15 per 1 hour. So that's actually a true statement. I'm going to put a T there. The line is straight. Absolutely it is. And if you take a look at 2 hours, it's $30. Okay, so what's happening, what we're starting to see, 1 hour is 15, 2 hours is 30, 3 hours is 45. This is actually going up by $15 every hour. And so that's a constant rate, and that's causing that line to be straight. Which means if you have a straight line, if you have a constant rate, and also when it starts at 0 down at the bottom here, you have a proportional relationship. And that's true. So remember, it says what is not true, the statement that's not true. This is an example of a non-proportional relationship. That is false. And so that is your not true statement that you're choosing for number 3. Okay, number 4, proportion story here. So Mrs. D'Angelis uses 25 gallons of gas to drive to southern Ohio, which is 400 miles away. How many miles can be driven using 40 gallons of gas? Now, when we did proportion stories here, remember we set up those two fractions and we use labels. You're talking about a story, right? And so there's labels that go with these number values. And so if she is using 25 gallons of gas and it's 400 miles away, So I'm going to start with that, 400 miles. 25 gallons of gas, and you're trying to find out how many miles can be driven using 40 gallons of gas. So what I'm doing here in this story is I'm matching labels together, right? Gallons and gallons go together in the denominator here, and I'm trying to find miles with 40 gallons. So miles in the numerator, this is going to end up being miles here once I solve it, because it's asking you how many miles. And so here, this is an example of a proportion that we're actually going to cross multiply and divide. We're going to use that butterfly method. Okay, so we're going to do 25 times x equals, and then the other direction here, we're going to multiply 400 times 40. Actually, do that right here. So 400 times 40. We're looking at 16,000. And you multiply 400 times 40 in this direction. Now remember, we're not done. We have to solve. We need x by itself. This is a one step. So we got to divide by 25. X equals. And go ahead and divide that last step out. So 16,000 divided by 25. And you'll see that Mrs. DeAngelis can go 640 miles on 40 gallons of gas. And so there's your final answer, 640. Okay, now that takes you through chapter one. So now we're going to head into chapter 2. Before we do that, again, make sure the first 4 problems have answers to them. And you can, again, pause the video at any point to go back and look at work if you need to. Okay, we're going to keep going. So chapter 2, percents. Chapter 2, percents. All right, here we are looking at number 5. The first question is asking us what percent of 80 is 24. Now, when we did these in class in chapter 2, we talked about this proportion setup to help you fill in and solve. We talked about the part over the whole. The word is and the word of gives you those indications of what is the part and what is the whole in the story. And we always put our percents over 100. Now notice in this I put what percent bolded. So you don't know what that is. You don't know the percent. That's what you're trying to find. So since we don't know it, I know I'm going to put x over 100. That's what we're trying to solve for. Then I go back up. Of 80 and is 24. So of 80, well, of goes in my denominator here. And is 24 goes in my numerator. So I've plugged in all of my numbers in the correct proportion set up here. I'm solving for that percent. So here again, we're going to use that butterfly method and we're going to cross multiply and solve. So we're going to do 80 times x and get 80x. We're going to do 24 times 100. And so add 2 zeros to 24, 2400. And we're going to finish it out by solving. So we're going to divide by 80. So 2400 divided by 80 equals 30. And we're solving for the percent. So 24 is 30% of 80. Okay, number 5. Number 6. So we're going to do another one just like this. And we're now looking at what is 54% of 85. What is 54% of 85? So what is bolded. So we don't know the part. That's what we're solving for. So that means I'm going to put my x there. What is bolded. I don't know the part. This is what I'm solving for. X goes in the numerator here. 54% of 85. 54, there's a percentage out of 100% of 85 of, there's my denominator there. So I need to find the part out of the whole. I'm looking for a number that is 54% of 85. So I'm going to be looking for a number that's just a little over halfway, a little over half of 85. So here again, we're going to use cross multiplication. and solve. So we're going to do 100 times x and get 100x. And we're going to do 85 times 54. And when we do, we get 4,590. And we're going to divide by 100 to solve it. So x equals, if I divide by 100, I'm looking at 45.9 as my part. 45.9 is the part to the whole of 85. It's 54% of that value. All right, we're going to move on. Number 7. So again, you should be selecting these answers as we go and writing work down. Number 7, what is the total cost, including tax, of a skateboard if the skateboard costs $145 and the sales tax is 6%? Total cost, including tax. So when we did these in class, that's a 2-step problem. So that means at this point, we're going to take the price of the skateboard. So this is going to be step A. And we're going to start by finding the sales tax to begin with, Michigan sales tax. So we did these as a proportion as well. And we're talking about 6% out of 100%, right? So percentage is always over 100. And you're trying to find the tax amount, X, if the skateboard is $145. So you're missing the part. You're missing the tax to the whole, the price of the skateboard. So here again is another proportion that we're going to cross multiply and solve this way. So 100 times x, and then 145 times 6. So if you do that, you get 870. And last step, divide by 100. So x equals, dividing that by 100 moves the decimal 2 places to the left, and so you get 8.7. Now it's not $8.7, right? When we did this in class, we talked about money, and if it comes out that way as a decimal, you add the 0. It's $8.70. Now that's just the tax amount. We're not done yet. So since this is the tax amount, now what we're going to do is that last step, total cost including tax. So step B, we're going to take the price of the skateboard, $145, and we're going to add to it that $8.70 in tax. And when you do, you should get $153.70. 153.70. Total cost there. So $153.70. Final answer, total cost of that skateboard with sales tax at 6%. Okay. We're going to take a look now at number 8. So we are still in chapter 2. So make sure at this point, if you are behind, again, like I keep saying, you need to pause the video, please do, so you can catch up and make sure you have answers through number 7 right now. I'm going to pause the video and allow you to do that, and we'll come right back. All right, number 8. Your family eats breakfast at the brunch house and spends $38. What is the tip amount if you leave a 15% tip? So you're looking just for the tip amount. That's it. So we also set these up as a proportion. Everything in chapter 2, we used a proportion setup. And so you are going to leave a 15% tip out of 100%, right? Percentages are all together. You want to know how much of a tip, the part, is what you're missing if your meal was $38. So the part you're missing, you have the whole. Here we go again, right? Butterfly method, cross multiply. 100 times x, 100x. 38 times 15. So 570. Divide by 100. And if you do, you're talking $5.70 in tip. And that's all you need. It's just asking you for the tip amount, one step. $5.70 is what you're leaving for tip. Number 9, a KitchenAid stand mixer bowl is originally priced at $500, and now it's marked down 60%. What is the sale price after you take away the discount? So I'm asking for sale price once you take away the discount. So this is 2 steps here. And so let's talk step A. Let's talk about how it's marked down 60% out of 100%. It's a $500 mixer. And so you have the whole, you need the part. You need to know the discount amount to start with. How much is it discounted? Okay, same process we've been doing here so far on the Chapter 2 problems, butterfly method. So put this over here, 100 times x, and then do 500 times 60. And you get 30,000. Divide by 100. X equals 300. Now that's just the discount. We're not done yet, okay? So you're saving $300 on this mixer. Step B. So you need to know sale price. So take the original price of the mixer, the $500, and if it's on sale, remember it's cheaper, so you're subtracting away that discount of $300. And so that mixer on sale is $200. All right, that takes care of Chapter 2. So Chapter 2 is a big chapter, and so there's a little bit more problems to review in your final exam for Chapter 2. Chapter 3, so integers, taking a look at your positives and your negatives. So number 10. So these are the ones that you should not use a calculator on. You should know your integer rules. You'll have to know them next year for 8th grade. You'll start the year with a lot of integer work next year. But these absolutely you should not use a calculator on. You should know your rules, like number 10, -5 plus 18. So if it's -5 degrees outside, really, really cold, below zero, and all of a sudden the temperature rises over the next couple of hours, 18 degrees, it goes up, okay? That means you are at a positive 13, okay, 13 degrees. So when you have opposite value, or opposite signs, one negative, one positive, you subtract, and so 18 minus 5 is 13, and you take the sign of the larger number. 18 is positive, positive 13. Number 11, -39 minus 7. So here with your subtraction, you cannot forget leave change opposite, which means if you leave the -39, you change subtraction to addition, and you take and do the opposite. So that's a positive 7, so now that's going to become a -7. Leave the -39, change to addition, opposite. That becomes -7. So here, -39 plus a -7, adding 2 negatives together, it stays negative. You're talking -46. Okay. Number 12. A window cleaner rises 36 feet up the side of a building and then descends 17 feet. What is the final position? Goes up 36 feet. That's a positive 36. Descends 17 feet. Descends 17 feet means it goes down. So you can either subtract 17. This is one way to set it up. Or you can say, okay, going up 36 feet on the side of the building, but then descending 7 feet, that's a negative value. You can say plus -7. Either one of these setups is fine. And so here, if you think about going down 17 feet, that means that window cleaner's final position is going to be at 19 feet. Okay, number 13. Multiplication. Solve. -5 times -11. So when you multiply, two negatives are a positive. This should be positive 55. So this is the opposite of the add subtract rule. Two negatives here equal a positive. Multiply it out, 55. Number 14, division. -15 divided by 3. So one negative, one positive. The rule here is it stays negative, -5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. One negative, -5. Number 15, evaluate the expression. If A equals 4 and B equals 7, then plug into this expression B minus a -4. We need to evaluate it. So B is 7 minus, and then there's a -4. Okay, there's no A. I just need to plug in for B. So here in this problem, we're going to make sure with subtraction we do LCO because we're talking about negatives here. Leave the 7, change to addition, opposite. That becomes a +4. 7 plus 4, 11. Number 16, you're going to evaluate again. Evaluate the expression -49 divided by B. So you're going to substitute in what I give you for B here, which is 7, +7. And so you're dividing integers here, one negative, one positive. Your answer is -7. So chapter 3 is all about your integer rules and your integers with add, subtract, multiply, divide. We're now going to head into chapter 5. So at this point, through question 16, you should have answers. Pause the video and make sure you do in Schoology. Okay, chapter 5, expressions. We're going to do a couple here and then end for the day. So number 17, what is the value of the expression if f equals 7? So we're going to plug 7 in for f, and notice it says f squared, 7 squared plus 8. And so remember order of operations, we have to do this exponent. Now remember, this is 7 squared. 7 times 7, 49, plus 8. And so when you add those together, 57. Number 18, use distributive property to find the value of, and you have -3 times x plus 8. So remember distributive property, we used arrows because you need to make sure you distribute that -3 to everything on the inside of the parentheses. So this is saying -3 times x, -3x, plus -3 times 8, -24. -3x plus -24, that's as simplified as I can take it. So when I look over here at my answers, well, remember, because look at this last answer here, remember we said that this -3x, right, could stay, but since this is a -24 plus a -24, that means the same thing as subtracting 24. And that is the answer you see right down here at the bottom in letter D. Okay, 2 more. We're going to get through 20. Okay, simplify. 3n plus 2 plus 9n. So we're going to take those n's and simplify them together. Adding those together, we're going to get 12n, right? Like terms. And then 2 here is all by itself. There's nothing else to simplify it with. So plus 2. 12n plus 2. Last one today, number 20. Again, we're going to simplify the expression. 4x plus 8 plus 2x minus 7. So the 4x and the 2x are like terms, so I can combine those. 6x. Positive 8, -7. Or positive 8 minus 7. That's just 1. 6x plus 1. Okay, we're going to stop here today. So at this point, like I said, this is a resumable practice test. I do not want you to keep going. I want you to stop because this has been a long lesson. You need to make sure at this point 1 through 20 have answers, and then you are able to exit out of it. And if, because there's not a lot of time remaining since this took us a while, if there's time remaining for you, then you can go back to the agenda and look again at what you should be doing to review. We are going to finish this tomorrow, Friday, together. So make sure you hold on to your lined paper. Make sure that you are keeping it in a safe spot. And like I said, when we come back tomorrow, you should be able to open up Schoology. Because it's resumable, your answer should be there as long as you open it correctly. And we will keep going starting with number 21 and finish reviewing the rest of the book. Have a great day. I will see you Friday.